let's talk about what's going on in Iran. All right. So we know that the Apache helicopter was shot down in the last 12 hours or so. I think it's funny. President Trump downplayed the Apache being a U.S. Apache helicopter, which was inexplicably placed in the Strait of Hormuz on a patrol, was downed by an Iranian drone. And the pilots were rescued. They were actually rescued by a naval drone, meaning that essentially this entire operation was feeding a $30 million airframe to drones so that the drones could practice. But in a phone call with the Wall Street Journal, Trump said the blockade was making Iran very poor, and he said he would keep it in place as long as necessary. He sought to play down the helicopter incident, saying it wasn't a big deal. And hey, the pilot is fine. Apaches have 2 pilots, but it's a pilot and a weapons officer. But pretending, I mean, we're at the point where Trump is so cowed by Iran that he's pretending that like attacks that objectively happened didn't happen. That's crazy. Now, literally in just the last few hours, we've seen Trump confirm the Apache downing. Then we've seen an Iranian official tell Al Jazeera that the helicopter was not flying over international waters. It says Iran will respond forcefully and immediately if it's attacked by Iran again, which I think is wild because that implies that the Iranians, that the U.S. sent a rotary wing aircraft over Iranian territory, despite knowing full well the Iranians have drones extremely capable of shooting down helicopters. Like we did the thing. We fed an Apache to a drone. And like, again, this is not China. This is not Russia. This is Iran. And they're downing Apaches, you know, again, at will, who knows? But they certainly downed one. And the Iranians say, listen, it wasn't an offensive operation. It was defensive in nature. And this is the problem with tit for tat strikes, is that you don't just take it. And at some point, again, if these pilots have been killed, would Trump have no choice but to escalate or look like an even bigger wimp? It's wild. Let me see here. Maybe this will make the audio a little better. Right? The Iranians kind of suggested the incident may not have been intentional and urged foreign forces to leave the strait, warning that the presence carries risks from accidents, miscalculations, or crossfire. The best solution is for foreign forces to exit. It's interesting because the United States made a similar statement. We don't know if the hit was intentional, which actually makes me think that perhaps the Apache was trying to maybe shoot down an Iranian drone somehow, and like a Shahed or something, and it just fucked it up, because that's not really what Apaches are meant to do. Yeah, people say, and again, this is a video that already dropped, but I'm gonna talk about it because I think it's really important. Like, the Apache is 50 years old. It is a 50-year-old attack helicopter. And literally two companies that manufactured it no longer exist. Okay. It is absolutely insane. And understand that if this was made, I mean, before shoulder-fired anti-aircraft weapons existed. This was made before drones existed. This is insane. Like, the Apache, I mean, look at this. Look at this. The Apache fought in Panama, in Desert Storm, in Bosnia and Kosovo, and Albania, obviously in Afghanistan and Iraq, and now in in Iraq again, and the Iran war. But this is such a joke, right? Because these things are so vulnerable to modern drones. Like, people are like, oh, they're capable. Yeah, sure, they're capable, but they're extremely the capabilities they deliver are on a platform that is so delicate. And that is what annoys me, is that, like, what capability does what, like, okay, the Apache, let's say it was intercepting a drone that was detected via radar. Well, isn't that incredibly inefficient? Because why not just use an interceptor? Even our overpriced shitty SM-6 missiles, right? Even if we just fired an SM-6 missile at it, that would have cost us let's see, no way. $3 million? What? No, that's not an SM-6, guys. Am I thinking of... Never mind. All right. Okay. So it would have been slightly cheaper to use an SM-6, but not by much. But it still is like, why would you put this $30 million aircraft within drone range of the Iranians? Why would you send it to take out a Shahed when you could do the same thing with, again, according to what the Ukrainians sent me today, you could do the same thing with a $800 Sting interceptor. It's absurd. It's completely absurd. Like, no one has ever told me what capacity an Apache brings to the fight that a series of drones could do for $3 million. And the reason the Apache replacements keep getting canceled is because the battlefield isn't amenable to helicopters. I don't know what else you want to hear from me. People are like, oh, the hell, the Apache is supposed to pop up and engage infantry targets. Hey, you know what else pops up and engages infantry targets for one thousandth of the cost is a FPV drone. I'm telling you, one of these days, I'm gonna do a live stream, right? I'll have my wife take the kids. I'm gonna order some parts on Alibaba, and me and fucking Claude, I'm gonna pull up a Claude, and they are gonna coach me on building an FPV drone that I can, obviously. You could take out a helicopter. You don't need an explosive charge. You just fly that bitch into the rotors. But I'm going to have Claude walk me through building a drone dropped grenade launcher. And there you go. Like, that is your strike package, is supporting infantry. Right. Before the age of drone, it was awesome. It provided close air support to Army and Marine units on the ground. Really close. It was awesome. But in the age of drones, they've been replaced by something better and cheaper. That's it. That's the ballgame. Just like the battleship. The battleship got replaced by something better in the form of a carrier. It had the same power projection, but way more of a diverse mission set. Right. People are like, oh, you got to fight with the army you brought. Well, we spent $1 trillion, guys. $1 trillion buckaroos. Again, they could have called, we could have collabed, me and chat. We could have popped in and said, hey, we'll fix you up some drones. They could have called the Ukrainians. I could have picked some up. I see. Someone named Dropper FPV is like, I got you, Paul. Nice. Is that a, I want to see, is that a real, do you have a real channel with, like, no, okay. That's so funny, though. Yeah, the defense industrial, yeah, that's true. I mean, at some point, Raytheon wants to make money, and you can't make money off of something that kids can build in their garage. Yeah, and I think ultimately my fault is not with, like, the airframe. per se. It is. But it's with the commanders that continually put more and more into this. Again, the Apache replacement, they can't ever build one because they refuse to accept that in a pure fight, helicopters will just not last any length of time. That's why they keep getting canceled. Right. The Army's like, we want a future attack and reconnaissance aircraft. And look, this, it's supposed to be this fucking thing. Dude, you can take that out with a rock. Right? They keep awarding contracts. They say the finalist. Cancellation was canceled in 2024. A sober assessment of the modern battlefield. Yikes. Yeah. Like, oh, we're totally going to build this fucking monstrosity. I mean, I get it. You have to move people quickly. You need a machine that can move people quickly in uncontested airspace. Like, from friendly fob to friendly fob. Sure. I hear that. But you got to accept that if somebody wants to pew-pew you, they are $300 away from being able to pew-pew you with an FPV drone. Yeah, Russia. That's why Russian and Ukrainian attack helicopters do not go anywhere near the front lines. It's simple. They sit in the back. They sit in the rear. And yeah, I've seen the videos too of like rotary, like prop wing aircraft and people with M4 shooting down Shaheds. I get it. Gripens go and shoot down Shaheds. I hear that. But again, if you can, like, if you build the capacity for just an interceptor or just even, like you can get 80% of a Patriot for 20% of the cost. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So again, it's one of those things where I'm just like, yeah, people are like it's a flying tank destroyer. Boy, wait do you guys hear about this Ukraine war? They have flying tank destroyers too, and boy, they are not the same problem. It is way cheaper. You guys built this is like, I mean, this is just like you guys, this is like the assignment where somebody, a teacher's like, is like, gives you some big elaborate thing and somebody shows up and it's just like, oh yeah, I wrote a one-page paper. I'm just going to read it aloud. And somebody else is like, oh, I did everything. Ignorance is bliss if you're US policymakers and you just keep buying Apaches for no reason. Ace Chems, all the US needs is to create a dedicated drone branch in the military. Our global intelligence mixed with cheap drones will make us a force to be reckoned with. 100%, guys. 100%. US military needs to, yeah, absolutely have an unmanned systems forces branch that just is an enabler of all other forces. And I want to point out that this Apache shootdown is just one part of the madness, because you can see that after the Apache shootdown, the Iranians also targeted a camp belonging to the Iranian Kurdish opposition. This was in Erbil. Bear in mind, the Kurds don't really consider Iran to be like separate. They view Kurdistan to be Syria, northern Iraq, and parts of Iran to be Kurdistan. And so Kurds are Kurds, and the Iranians then tried to bomb Erbil with drones, which is, again, the Kurds are, the Kurds used to be a U.S. ally. Trump kind of fucked them, but rest assured, I think they still consider themselves a U.S. ally. And of course, following the shoot down, Trump immediately called Netanyahu for instructions. For consultation. And what I thought was disturbing is that despite repeated assurances from Netanyahu that the ceasefire would be in effect, it is not. Israeli warplanes targeted the village of Al Mansour. There were a series of raids, again, north of the Litani, more airstrikes, and, of course, 2 airstrikes in the city of Tyre. And, again, this is like a pretty substantial city. I don't know what else to tell you. So, like, I don't know, guys. And I still keep waiting to hear. Oof. Since fighting resumed in Lebanon in early March, 30 officers and soldiers have been killed and nearly 1,500 wounded since fighting resumed in Lebanon in early March. All right, and 48 of those soldiers were in the last week. Holy shit. Wait, what? This doesn't make any sense. Oh, no, wounded. Okay, 48 in the last week. Jesus. Yeah. So, that's troubling. Funny, I see Nigel Guns. It was only 2 years ago when the Russian equivalent to the Apache was a feared weapon that helped blunt the Ukrainian offensive. Even then, no, or even then, the attack helicopters prior to widespread drone use were still so far stood off from the battlefield that they would do those parabolic shots. They would fire rockets, they would tilt up, fire the rockets, and then turn away. And then the rockets would simply travel as far as they could. But that was the only use these things had. They were basically just rocket artillery with rotors. So even before drones, these helicopters became irrelevant. They just became... literally, we are 2 generations removed from these helicopters being irrelevant. So again, you look at these Israeli casualties. I mean, that is significant, guys. March, April, May. I mean, 1,500 wounded, 30 killed. That, let's see. In the entire Gaza war, let's see if we can find it. Casualties of the Gaza war. Okay, I see this. Israeli casualties, October 7th attacks. But I'm looking for invasion of Gaza. 260 Israeli soldiers killed in ground operations. And this is April 2024. But man, they really don't want to give you a total. Yeah. So but that alone is pretty crazy if this is true. So you're talking about 300 maybe. We'll run up to 300. So in 2 years of war, they lost 300 soldiers. And in basically 2 months of war, they've lost 30. That's a pretty high rate of loss. I think part of the FPV story is that Hezbollah FPVs seem to be, one, less technically sophisticated than the Ukrainians. They seem to be more poorly piloted. They seem to prioritize heavy equipment targets. And they seem to be primarily a fiber optic controlled, meaning that they don't have the same quantity. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, check out another video here, and of course, become a member at combatvetnews.com for access to an entire archive of premium videos, including combat footage that YouTube would never let me show you. The link is in the description. And of course, a huge thanks to all of the Combat Vet News members.